as many as we expect to open will open. And I think a lot of people are going to continue to be working from home for the next few months. So, you know, especially now that we've been in this for a couple months, you might be kind of getting into a slump and might need some refreshers on how to eat healthy during this time. So some topics we're going to talk about today is meal planning and shopping, smart snacking, stocking your pantry, and some creative cooking. And then we'll take questions and try to answer them as best we can. So I'm going to pass it to Tiana to talk about meal planning and shopping. You're muted still. Janelle, can you see our slides?
Oh, okay, I see it, just joking. Technology. Okay, you might want to mute yourself. Okay, so we're gonna talk about meal. We're gonna talk about meal planning. Can you hear the feedback?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe just mute.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo. Sorry guys, be patient with us while we figure it.
There we go. I turned myself down. Okay. So I'll turn mine up then.
Yeah, that's much better.
So we're going to talk a little bit about meal planning. So the picture on the right is a real life meal plan by a dietitian. Oh my God. And yes, we eat pizza and cheeseburgers and pasta and nachos because they're delicious. So this is, like I said, a real life meal plan from my own house. You can see kind of, for me, I kind of just throw like the main portion of the meal on there, and then I kind of fill in with the vegetables and if we need additional like starch or anything with it. So and then our family, we try to do Sundays with no meat or do like a vegetarian option, but we do incorporate proteins, meat proteins, and dairy into our diet as well. But like the pizza, we would just do like a vegetable pizza. The chicken thighs, then I would incorporate, you know, the vegetable on the side or any kind of starch. But what I kind of like to do with the sides, especially the vegetables, is I don't really like to specifically plan which vegetable like when I'm making my list, because I like to see what they have at the store, what looks good, what's in season, what's most affordable, things like that. So I kind of fill in kind of the sides and mainly the vegetables or like the fruits with whatever looks good at the store that day or that week. So for meal planning, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I personally like to meal plan weekly because I grocery shop once a week. So it just kind of depends on how often you grocery shop, or if you're getting your groceries delivered, which a lot of us are now, or if you go to the farmer's market, what day of the week those farmer's markets are on. So personally, I sit down every Sunday, and that's when I usually do a lot of my grocery shopping and meal planning. But that just works for me. So if you're a nurse or you don't have weekends off, you can definitely meal plan any day of the week. So I have a list of about 20 to 30 meals that are my go-to meals that I know that I will eat, my husband will eat, and our daughter will eat. Those are the three main ones. And that can be as simple as, you can see I love tacos. So I have chicken tacos, turkey tacos, beef tacos, fish tacos, vegetarian tacos. There's 5 right there. So 20 to 30 seems like a lot, but you can mix it up with different proteins, or if you're going to do like enchiladas, you can do red sauce enchiladas or green sauce enchiladas. So you may see the 20 to 30 and be like, oh, can't even think of 20 to 30 meals that I like, but you can mix it up with different vegetables or different protein sources. And that's kind of my go-to when I'm meal planning. I'll like bring out that list. And sometimes there may be something on that list that I don't make all the time. And I'm like, ooh, I haven't made that in a really long time. Maybe we should switch up the protein that we're having with our tacos or something, because we eat tacos every week. Well, not this week. Wow, we had nachos. Oh, we had steak fajitas. Okay, that counts. And then I like to take a look at my week overall. So I'll have, this is a whiteboard that I have on my fridge. And I probably just got this at Target or something. They also have like month-long ones if you more want to like be adventurous and plan out your whole month, which if that works for you, then do it. But I like to look at the whiteboard that I have, and then I bring out my work schedule, and then my husband and I have a shared schedule on our iPhones. And so I look like, do I have to stay late for a meeting one day? Does my husband have to stay late for a meeting? And before COVID, we would take our daughter to gymnastics. So those days we were getting home a lot later. So I tend to take that into consideration. On the days that I take my daughter to gymnastics, I'm not going to be baking lasagna because that's going to take way too long. She's going to get tired. I'm going to get tired. We're all going to get cranky and just be really hungry. So I take that into consideration. This picture here is kind of, it's pretty typical, but you can see the nachos on Saturday. That's utilizing the steak fajitas that we had earlier in the week. And then we can kind of just throw in any vegetables that are kind of worse for wear with nachos and things like that. And then, so I take into consideration if we're going to be working late or we're just busy, if we're meeting up with friends, which eventually we'll be able to do again, we're having a virtual Zoom happy hour, whatever. So you can plan in for the leftovers. You can also plan in to do takeout. So if my husband and I are both working late one day, we'll just plan and say, we're going to get takeout, and we'll write that on the meal plan. So we know that's what we're doing that day. Be realistic. So don't say I'm going to start meal planning and you've never meal planned before, and you say I'm going to meal plan for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week. That's not going to happen. So I would suggest starting out with one meal a day, and try to make it a meal that you're usually home for. So don't try to plan breakfast if you know you're usually running out the door grabbing something for breakfast too. So especially if it's something you have to make. And then we like to start backwards. So we'll go over a little bit later about pantry staples, but I'll just look in the pantry, look at things we already have. So for this one, we had pasta, we had chips, we had a bunch of cheese in the fridge that was going. We had chicken thighs. I had some pizza crust that I had made that was in the freezer. So just starting backwards like that. And then utilizing the leftovers, whether that be utilizing the leftovers, knowing that you're going to have leftovers and using it like we did for nachos, or utilizing it for lunches the next day or whatnot. So next one is we're going to talk about shopping. So yeah, that is the norm right now, is going out to buy food and looking like you need to wear a hazmat suit. But this is another example of like, this is a free printable that I found, and there's the link down there where it has the menu on one side and it has the grocery list on the other. So that's also really helpful when you are meal planning, to make your grocery list at the same time, so you know what you need to purchase. So always use a list when you go grocery shopping, because if you don't, you will forget things and you will buy things that you don't need. Or you may like buy double something that you already have in your pantry. So I usually make a list, and I go to my pantry and I'll check off things that I already have. So I'm not, having 10 things of pasta in my pantry, which isn't a bad thing because pasta is delicious. Then I like to organize my grocery list by the layout of the store. And this may sound pretty daunting, but you can kind of look, next time you're at the store, just kind of look at how things are laid out. Grocery stores usually don't change the layout of the store at all. And this will it'll make you be able to grocery shop faster, which we all want, because we all want to be able to go home and take off our mask and our quarantine suit. Because then you're not having to go back and forth to different departments to get things. So I put all my produce in one area, any kind of cold like dairy or meat in one area. And they do have, like, if you just Google like grocery lists, they have ones that have different headers on these things where you can just put what you need. It really does make the grocery shopping a lot faster. And if you have a partner that usually doesn't do their grocery shopping, it helps them when they have to go do the grocery shopping. And then, so I think rule number 1 is use a list. Rule number 2 is don't shop hungry, because that's when you're going to buy and you're like, oh yeah, those Dorito chips are looking real good right about now. And you will buy them because you're hungry. And you might just buy things more than you need, things that you just don't need, and then you may end up spending a lot more money than you originally planned. So when you go not hungry, it's also budget friendly. And then going back to meal planning and thinking about your week, if you have a really hectic week where you're getting home late every day, or maybe your partner's out of town, or whatever it may be, where you're just kind of running short on time, the convenience items, the pre-chopped onions, the pre-chopped vegetables, the microwavable meals, like those all have a place. So yes, they usually are a little bit more expensive, but if we're short on time, and where are we going to cut our corners? Are we going to cut it by having someone else chop our onions, or are we just going to cut it by driving through the drive-through? So it just kind of, you have to weigh it out. If you can fit it into your budget that week, then do it. Because a lot of times the convenience items like the pre-chopped vegetables or things like that tend to be a little bit more expensive, but they tend to be healthier than the alternative of what you would do on a short time.
So I'm going to talk about snacking now. So a lot of us are home and we're bored. We're spending lots of time just sitting. And what do a lot of us do when we're sitting around in our homes bored? We like to snack. So if you haven't, a lot of people are kind of keep joking about the gaining the quarantine 19, or the quarantine 15, right? And that's a lot because a lot of us are kind of finding ourselves picking and eating at all these little things that we might not have access to usually when we're at work or when we keep our staying out of the house. So an important thing about this time when we're home is sure we're smart. I here and a lot of tips I actually from a great blog we have at here Davis, which the food is good medicine. Of our coworkers, Jamie Tucker, wrote a great article on smart snacking. So I'm taking some of those ideas from her and adding some things here and there. But I highly recommend that blog just for some, good food information in general, because we're us dietitians writing those blog posts. So for smart snacking, a really important thing is maintaining regular meal times. With you working from home, especially if you kind of your own for your job, you don't have this set schedule, it's really easy for us to sleep in, to work real fast, work for several hours, not eat breakfast, up late, eat dinner super late, things like that. So we really want to make sure that we're maintaining regular meal times. This is important because it's helping maintain our body's rhythm, and kind of making sure that we're eating at regular intervals, not, waiting until we're super hungry and making forces when it comes to food. And we're also not saying, oh, it's 3 o'clock and I'm really hungry, so let me just snack because it's not a mealtime. But the reason we're really hungry is because we didn't eat lunch. So maintain regular meal times, and that's just going to help you maintain a healthy lifestyle this time while you're at home a lot. Keeping a schedule is really important. Also making sure you're being away from your workspace. Eat. Take a break, enjoy your meal. If you haven't heard of it, mindful eating is a really important thing. That's where you kind of eliminate distractions and you really pay attention to the food and how you're feeling in regards to the food in terms of your hunger cues, how you're feeling satiety-wise, things like that. That's cute. So as we're bored now, and what do we do when we reach for snacks? So Really important this time to pay attention to your hunger cues. On the slide, we got that scale of 1 to 10 about for kind of a hunger scale, with 1 being you're so starved, you're weak and dizzy, you're about to pass out, with 10 being, you're about to throw up if you eat anything else. So we really want to pay attention to where are we on that hunger scale. Are you at, when you're starting to feel you want a snack, are you actually at like a 3 or a 4? Or are you finding that, hey, I just ate, I'm kind of actually at a 5, and I don't really need food right now. So making sure you're paying attention to that. Then if you do need snack, this is snacking. Snacks are not evil. Sometimes we do need a snack. Somebody who eats a small breakfast, and so usually around 10 a.m. getting a little peckish. So, I do like to have a little snack then. So making sure that those snacks you go for are healthy. So part of that shopping plan and plan that Tiana was talking about, it includes a few healthy snacks. And I'll have some examples of some healthy snacks on the next slide. And then along with that, in terms of our healthy snacks, we're going to skip down to that bottom bullet of make sure you're having balanced snacks, right? And what does that mean? It means having a little bit of protein in that snack. Don't just be eating, crackers. Don't be just eating a huge bowl of corn, because that's just, and those don't really keep you satiated. You're going to eat a bunch of those and you'll be hungry again in an hour or two. Okay, so make sure you're eating a balanced snack. A snack ideally should be almost like a little mini meal, because that's what's going to keep you satiated longer. So get in some protein, get in fat. And then lastly, big thing with snacking, don't eat out of the bag. Don't be reaching your all the way down to your elbow into the Doritos bag, okay? Don't be eating out of the carton. Serve yourself all up out and put the rest away. You can always stand up more if you still feel like you need some. But I think a big thing with snacking can get out of control is when you're not paying attention to how much of it you're eating, right? It's really easy for that bag of popcorn that has its 6 servings to become 2 servings. What I do at home to help with that is actually, you can see on the next slide some great pictures. Here we go. I keep in my home some great little dishes that I've kind of just collected through the years. I think once we bought some of those cute little desserts from Costco that come in little dishes, I save those little dishes. Great for they're great for snacks. They're great for serving yourself maybe something more decadent like ice cream, or also good for cooking. But those are great little tools you can use to help control your portion sizes, right? Fill up that little bowl, that little container, and step away from that bag. Put the bag away. Okay. And then you can go back for more later if you're hungry. Now into kind of what are smart snacks. So as you can see here, we have a list of some ideas. These are not the only things you have to snack, but just some ideas of some things that contain, a little bit of fat, a little bit of protein, maybe some fiber, really keep you satiated. Make sure that snack's actually doing something, right? Make sure it's actually satisfying that hunger that you better be feeling, because you looked at that hunger scale and decided, I need a snack because I'm actually hungry. So getting in that fat and protein through the yogurt, hard-boiled egg, deli meat, hummus, things like that, peanut butter, things like that. And you have some great little ideas on the side here that you can steal from too. What I think is a great thing in this picture that I have is that you can see that those more calorie dense foods, like the nuts, the peanut butter, the cheese, they have a smaller container, and some of the more not so calorie dense foods like the veggies and the fruit and stuff are in the larger containers. That's a great way to kind of, as an example, of portion correctly for your snacks. Okay, so make sure you're paying attention to that hunger cues when it comes to snacking, and you might help prevent that quarantine 19.
Okay. So before I talk about the up on the pantry, I did want to say something else about making a list, because I think I forgot to talk about it. No, it's okay. So I'm usually like paper and pen kind of person. I like to check list off because I'm super type A. And usually I have like a paper grocery list, but I've started moving away from that, just trying to be more eco-friendly and things. But what my husband and I have done, and may be helpful if you have a partner or a roommate, where you do the grocery shopping together, or you share groceries, is making a virtual list. So if you have a smartphone, all of the note applications on it, you can share with other people. So my husband and I have a running grocery list that as the week goes on and we notice like, oh, I took the last blank out of the pantry, we need more, we'll just add to it. So we're continually adding to it during the week when we notice that we're running low or running out of things. And this also correlates to our pantry discussion too, because we have another list that we have laid out our pantry items and our freezer items. And whenever we remove one of those things, we kind of we like check off or delete that from the list, so we know what we have in the pantry at all times. We're meal planning if we are doing a big grocery haul or something. That way, we just kind of have a running list of what we have. So that's pretty helpful. But if you don't have a smartphone, like you can use Google Docs or what's the other one? Boxed?
Dropbox.
Dropbox. Yeah.
My list, I can keep a list.
But yeah, so you can keep a list and you can share it with people. And it's super helpful because you guys can both adjust it and make edits to it. And then, so talking in the pantry. So yeah, what if the grocery stores all closed and we had to actually hunt for our food? Who would be screwed? I think I would. Because I don't even know where Doritos live. But seriously, pantry staples. So these are things that even in a quarantine that are just good to have in your pantry, just in case, this ever happens again, or we get sick, or things are hectic and we can't make it to the grocery store that week. We have things to utilize. So this not only makes sense right now, but just in general. So any kind of dried or canned beans, canned or fruits and vegetables. It's kind of a new thing lately to dry vegetables, which sounds weird, but they're actually really good. And it correlates to kind of Erica talking about healthy snacking, like dried vegetables. We don't have time to sit and cut and prep a lot of vegetables. As long as they're adding a lot of like seasonings to it, which a lot of times they don't. It's actually a good alternative, and it gives you that kind of crunch factor, like a chip, but not being a chip. Nuts and nut butters are really good to have. Almond butter, peanut butter, sun butter. They have all the butters, and they're all delicious. Any kind of canned meat, so like tuna. They have canned chicken. If spam is your thing, you rock that, okay? Don't eat it every day, 3 times a day, but that's something that your family would eat in a crunch. It could be something you have in your pantry. Spices, sauces, and dressings. Stock up on all of them. And then soups and broth, any kind of rice, crackers are all good things that have a long shelf life that will keep in your pantry, and that you can combine with other things in your pantry or in your freezer to make a complete meal. Freezer staples, any kind of frozen fruits and vegetables. They have a quick cook right, and that is both shelf stable and in the freezer, where it takes just a couple of minutes to make whole brown rice. and instead of the like 40 minutes it would normally take you to boil it. Breads, tortillas, buns, all the things that you like to have sandwiches on, or make tacos. Yes, you can freeze tortillas. Frozen leftovers and entrees. So going back to those convenience items, I always have a couple of those like frozen meals in my freezer at any given time, just in case, we do have something planned and something gets derailed on our menu. And we just things. So we're not getting to that hangry point that Erica was talking about, because when I'm hangry, I will just eat anything. So we don't want to get to that point. So if getting down to crunch, it's dinner time, and my daughter is the same way. She is a I don't know where she gets it from. It's definitely me, because I get hangry. But if you're kind of running low on time and you have 3 minutes to drive through the drive-through or pop in some leftovers that you froze earlier in the month, what's going to be healthier at that point in time? To reheat the leftovers, probably. Not saying that driving through the drive-through doesn't have its place either. But kind of talking about the age-old debate of canned, fresh, frozen, dried, whatever. A vegetable is a vegetable. And a lot of times the fruits and vegetables that are canned or dried are usually canned or dried at their peak of season. So if you're trying to eat something that's in, it's probably more nutrient value to utilize it for trying to go buy something season. And it's probably going to taste better too. And a lot of people say, well, like canned vegetables have a lot of sodium in them, or canned fruit has a lot of added sugar, which if you aren't wise in looking at the can or the package, it can. You just need to utilize the lower sodium versions if you can budget wise. And if not, like beans, say, the regular beans that aren't the low sodium have a lot more sodium in them. You can always rinse them before you cook them, and that gets rid of not all of the salt, but a lot of it. And then fruits, trying to get fruits that are canned in water can reduce those added sugars. So like not the syrup and things. But I kind of always tell my patients, would you rather eat a frozen vegetable or chips? Because maybe that vegetable is not available, but you have some in the freezer and you just really want some broccoli. So just frozen is fine. Just make sure that they're not adding a lot of the sauces and stuff to it, because a lot of the frozen vegetables have sauces added too. Okay. Next slide. So again, oops. Okay, and then going along with any kind of pantry or freezer staples, there's also lots of produce that naturally has a long shelf life. Some of them listed here. So apples, the coveted broccoli and cauliflower, kale. Oh my gosh, a dietitian said kale. Potatoes, kind of squash, kind of root vegetable really has a long shelf life. Yes, they're higher in carbohydrates, but it goes back to, would you rather eat a beet or chips? Any kind of onions add flavoring, celery, things like this. So these are all produce that have a longer shelf life if you are stretching the weeks in between having to go to the grocery store, which a lot of us are right now. And then the next slide goes over this is my this is mine. So you can see I have all kinds of tea and different kinds of dried cereals like oatmeals, a ton of spices, because a lot of times the things that I am buying that are shelf stable or pantry, like I don't want to buy things that have lots of sauces or seasoning added, because those tend to be higher in the fat content that we don't want, or sodium. So I like to add my own spices to things. So I have a lot of spices and things. My husband says I have too many, but a girl can never have too many shoes or spices. We also have a lot of like the canned beans, the canned vegetables, the tomato sauce. This time of year when my garden is producing lots of beautiful tomatoes, yes, I love to make my own tomato sauce, but do I have the time to make tomato sauce every day? Absolutely not. So all different kinds of canned vegetables and fruits that we have in there, just to have. Of course, I like to purchase things that are in season and fresh. That's just what I like to do, but sometimes we run out of the fresh stuff and we can utilize the canned stuff. We can rinse it off, season it ourselves, add it into different things, different soups, add it into our tacos, burritos, nachos. I really like tacos, in case you guys didn't know that already. So all of these things we can add in. And I open a can of beans, I can use it for 3 different meals. I can use it for tacos, for my nachos, and then I can put it in a salad for lunch later. So just kind of buying things that have a lot of different uses too. And buy things that you like. Don't just say, oh, I'm going to get this can of garbanzo beans because so-and-so said it was healthy. If you're not going to eat it, buy it to try it. And if you don't like it, it's okay. Take the no thank you bite. You don't have to buy things just because we say it's healthy. And then snack. So I like to snack. I tend to have smaller meals, and so I usually do that more like 4 to 6 smaller meals. Erica knows I like to snack because I have a snack drawer at my desk, because as previously mentioned, I get mad hangry, but also I feel I tend to eat less when I have smaller frequent meals than have 3 big meals because I get to that over hungry state. So we have a lot of snacks. My daughter likes to snack a lot. So you can see here that I have a lot of them in jars, and that way they keep fresh longer because I like to provide a lot of variety. So I don't want to give the same snack over and over again for myself or my daughter. And so we tend to go through the snacks super rapidly. So I like to keep them in jars so they stay fresh longer. And then, oh my gosh, yes, I have chocolate in my pantry. And it's in a jar, and normally, like Erica would say, I would come and bring my little container and just take out a little bit, so I don't eat the whole jar. But yes, there are things in this pantry that some may say aren't healthy, but as long as you're incorporating and utilizing them appropriately, everything can be fit in. And then I have a lot of pastas, rice, sauces, all the things. Yes. So this is, I also have shelf stable milk in there, just because right now, we do dairy in our house. Right now we might not make it to the store by the time the milk expires. So there's shelf stable milk. You can do almond milk, soy milk, whatever. I always just like to have, not pictured as the bottom shelf, but I have some almond and soy milk down there just to always have some kind of dairy substitute or dairy milk on hand in case it's expired. Oh.
Okay. So lastly, I'm going to talk about getting a little creative. So as I said before, we've been in this stay at home for the past 2 months, and things might be getting a little boring with home cooking. In addition, you might make the list, you might do the meal planning like Tiana said, but if you're really trying to stretch out that time between grocery shoppings, you might find you're getting to this point where you're finding that you may not have quite as many vegetables, or you just have a little bit, you don't have enough for that usual dish you make, you can't have enough to do your broccoli casserole, you only have 1/2 head of broccoli. So things, we want to start getting creative now, keeping, especially because that's going to help us maintain a healthy healthy meals, right? We might be getting burnt out on our standard healthy meals now, and be tempted more to eat out more and more, and go through that drive-through. But let's mix it up so we continue to choose healthy foods. So like Tiana said, we're keeping our pantry stocked. But you might have some things that you bought, you weren't quite sure about. You tried to be, yeah, way back there. You got to try to be adventurous, but you haven't used it yet. Well, try that thing you've been avoiding. Maybe use that sauce that your friend got you on their Thailand or something. So don't go out and start buying things that you don't like Tiana said. You don't want a bunch of stuff sitting around and wasting space that you're not going to use. But if you don't know, sure, if you don't like it, try it out, use it. Try a new style when it comes to meals. And that can be in a lot of different ways. A new style could be trying to eat vegetarian a few meals a week, stepping out of your comfort zone. Maybe you typically eat mostly American food. Try making Asian style food, try making Mexican style food. Try, if you're usually one that just cooks on the stove, maybe try, if you have a grill, bust out that grill, things like that. But try new things. Luckily, a lot of us have a little bit more free time, especially if you're at home, you're not commuting, things like that. You have a little bit more time to try things. Bust out that slow cooker. If you're working from home all day, perfect time to use a slow cooker. As I said, try things you haven't tried before. Don't go crazy, but try one new thing. Also challenge yourself. One new recipe a month, maybe one new food a week. Use that kitchen gadget you got it as that wedding present. I personally love to set up food challenges for myself. My next food challenges I have for myself is I really want to try cooking a whole crab and cooking fresh mussels. Those are my food challenges. So it doesn't have to be healthy food challenges. It's just fun things. For the longest time, I had a big bunch of cooking a whole fish, which was not nearly as daunting as you'd think it is. So, again, you're getting bored, try something new. You might find you have that new dish in your regimen now for your meal planning that you can use. And then some of us, we're trying to learn to cook better, I need to follow recipe. But once you start getting a little bit more, you can go off script. Substitute what you have for what you, especially as you start getting into, far and farther away from your last shopping trip, but you're not planning to go for a little bit longer. See what are suitable substitutes. You can find lots of online help for that. But there are other things too, as Tiana said, when it comes to meal planning and her 30 meals she has in her head. It could be you have that recipe for beef tacos. Let's try it with some ground turkey. Let's try it with some fish, things like that. And then lastly, again, as you're kind of getting to that end of the week, you have a lot of little straggling things of, a couple carrots there, a little bit of broccoli here, maybe half a head of cauliflower. And you're like, what do I do with all this? Stir frying. Stir frying is your best friend for a good fridge clean out. Maybe I'm a little biased, but my husband is Asian and he loves to stir fry. And it's fast. Yes, it is a great way to cook quick. Throw whatever you have in there and also make it healthy because you stuff a lot of vegetables in a stir fry. Fried rice is a big staple in my house, and you might think fried rice, that doesn't sound the healthiest. When you make it yourself, though, that you can change up a lot of things, specifically that rice to vegetable ratio, and we end up having the majority of our fried rice be vegetables. And I have a great little, iconographic, I think you call it, on the next page of how to do a stir fry. Because it's kind of, there's just some basic things you need to do, but you kind of have free reign overall. But the best thing to remember is just to kind of have fun with cooking when you can. Cooking, sometimes cooking can become a chore and it doesn't become so enjoyable. So sometimes you just might need to try some new, have fun with it. Everybody on their sourdough starters, making their own bread, and do we really need to make our own bread? I think we've gotten to the point where we can find bread in the stores and we can freeze it. But, if you want to try making your bread, go for it. do it. Maybe it's not the 100% whole wheat you usually buy, but you know, if it's helping you like cooking a little more, just do it. So you know, you need a little entertainment right now. You want to do something you know, you can produce and be proud of. So there's just, you know, as I said, I had that nice little kind of graphic that making a stir fry is 1, 2, 3, choose your protein, add some veggies, and make a sauce. So it's really easy. So great way to use up the last little bits of vegetables you have lingering around in your fridge. And then I said, when you're challenging yourself, just kind of look around, follow an Instagram recipe page, follow, you know, New York Times has a great recipe email every day. There's a lot of great resources. You know, you can do this summer cooking bucket list. Maybe it's not the healthiest thing. It's fun, creative, and maybe actually doing that will prevent you from going and buying the more processed like candy and chips and cookies. You know, instead you can do something that, you know, maybe it's dessert, but it has fresh fruit. You can portion how you like. You can freeze it for later, and just have fun. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for listening to us. We can take questions now. We'll hand it over to you, Janelle. Anything else to say? Janelle, still muted.
I unmuted everybody but myself. That's always fun. Yeah, does anybody have any
If anyone
questions?
ever has any questions, you can feel free to email us too if you have to get back to work.
Thank you guys, that was awesome.
Thank you.